We will defend this president with our lives. We are going to march all the way to the Supreme Court. And our fight does not stop at the Supreme Court. We take the fight back to our precincts. We take them back to our neighborhoods. And we make for damn sure that our local elected officials are elected fairly and they are elected squarely, and that our voice, which is our vote, is not stolen. Thank you so very much for showing up. Hello, hello, hello! This is the most beautiful crowd I have ever seen in my life. My name is Courtney Holland. I'm a conservative activist out of Nevada. I'm a proud Nevadan here to tell you that Nevada is MAGA country. This election was stolen from us. It is critical to the world that they see what happened in Nevada and across this country with how the Democrats have stolen this election. We here are out here today from all around the country to demand transparency. We want a free, fair, transparent election. And we want to stop the steal, am I right? All right. For 5 days out in Nevada, I helped lead hundreds of Nevadans standing in front of the Clark County Election Department. We are fired up. And we saw this happen in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Georgia, in Arizona, because we want to be loud. I ask you all, we can no longer be the silent majority. We need to be the loud majority. Transparency should not be political. We are here to fight for every person's vote. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Libertarian, an Independent, or a Republican. All of your votes matter. All of your votes matter. Every time an illegal ballot is cast, it silences one of your voices out there. And what we are witnessing today is a modern day coup to take over this country. We cannot let that happen. So I have a call to action for all of you. This does not end today. Am I right? Are you going to go back home and are you going to fight? All right. Our president fought for us for 4 years. So I ask you this. Are you ready to fight for your president? All right. Stop the steal! 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 Woo! Thank you, everybody! Keep up! All right, everybody, are you loving all these speakers? Have you been seeing the helicopter fly around? Do you think they are ignoring us? Because what do we want? 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years!
What's up, Washington, D.C.? My name is Mike Kujay. I'm a conservative activist from Las Vegas. Along with Courtney and Megan, we were leading the protest, the Stop the Steal protests out there. And it's incredible to see all these people here today. At the end of the day, the one thing that we want is a fair and honest and open election. We will not allow this to be stolen from the people of this country. There is no way that they can just find 200,000 votes overnight, all of them go to Biden, and it all is in the key swing states that Trump needs to secure the presidency. We've got major problems with the election infrastructure in this country, and they need to be fixed, and the votes need to be audited, not just recounted, they need to be audited. We need to audit the votes to make sure every vote is legal and valid. Trump is an absolute warrior, okay? He is a fighter. He fights everything they throw at him. He fought off the Russia hoax. He fought off all the media slander. He even got COVID and kicked COVID in its ass. And we will be the same, and we will fight for our president. He is the legitimate president. We will not allow this election to be stolen, and we will be out, and we will fight, and we will make our voices heard. Thank you guys so much for being out here. I love you all. How's everybody doing? This is beautiful. Can we do a chant? All right, I love y'all. Stop that steal! 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 Here's my people! My name is Ali Alexander. I'm the national organizer for Stop the Steal. Thank you. How many of y'all were at your state capitol last weekend? There were 30,250. Right now, all 50 state capitals, there's more, and we got tens of thousands coming into town here. We're going to make our voices heard, and we're going to protect this president by stopping the steal. Now look, these other guys, they're fiery speakers, I'm more of an organizer. December 14th is the date that we all need to remember. Next week, we're going to start lobbying the state legislature of Pennsylvania, of Wisconsin, of Michigan, of Arizona, and Georgia. And we're going to tell them to ignore the rigged elections and send Republican electors to the Electoral College. Or we're going to deprive both candidates of 270, then we'll send it to the House of Representatives where Donald J. Trump will win. Trump won, Trump won, Trump won, Trump won, Trump won, Trump won, Trump won. Let's terrify this town.
Let me fix this for a second. Hello everyone. These are indeed interesting times. Many would label me because where I come from and because of how I look. But there's a label I dislike the most. Minority. A word used to imply some people are not capable to succeed for themselves. But no, that is not me. I was not raised to inspire pity from anyone but the owner of my destiny. I am part of the majority. I am an American. The United States is the best country in the world to succeed. That was clear to me, even before the thought of immigrating to the nation crossed my mind. I believe President Trump holds dearly, not only in words, but in actions. He's a president that provides the necessary tools to build the American future on solid ground. Because he knows that just hope may only build a future on loose sand. President Trump knows that our nation's strength comes with the understanding that we must put America first together. President Trump fight for us, it's time to fight for him. election evoked many memories from voting days in my home country, Venezuela. Hearing in the United States the same garbage socialists sold to Venezuelans was unbelievable. Seeing people destroy their communities was heartbreaking. But politicians in action to protect their constituents was infuriating. From experience, I can tell you that such socialist ideas and destruction will not just hurt some people, it will get closer to you, to everyone's doorstep. It will take the last blood received from President Trump and will clean your tears with hope. We have a long way, and we have a long and bumpy journey ahead of us. We all, and I mean Democrats, Independents, Republicans, and even those who were too young to vote this time, need to demand a clear election. Thus, using all legal procedures to guarantee the election's integrity is the right thing to do. Let's remember that the constitutional process determines the next president, not the biased mainstream media. Be an awakening of citizens who are more politically active. Participate in town halls. Meet their legislators to discuss community issues and keep them accountable. Together, we'll make sure that we preserve the American dream and keep socialism away. By the way, I'm a gun owner, proud Second Amendment advocate, competitive shooter, and Olympian. No minority here. Too strong for that. This is a country in which the people are the owners of our destiny, aren't we? We refuse to be the beggars of the government, don't we? We're eager to protect, preserve, and defend our Constitution, especially our Second Amendment, aren't we? And we demand those who interfere in our election system receive the full force of the law, don't we? Oh, America, the land of the free and home of the brave. I was not born here, but God is my witness that I feel you through my veins, because here is where true freedom exists and dreams are conquered. Thank you. God bless our president. Let's keep America great. Stop the steal, and God bless America.
You guys are awesome! Awesome! I'm from Arizona. I do not need a plane to fly back with the enthusiasm and energy that is coming off you. Keep it up! Keep it up! We want one simple thing. What's that? 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! Let me get serious for a second. Last week, the Senate President of the state of Arizona, by the way, I'm state senator Vince Lee for one day last week. Last week, our Senate President of Arizona sent our Secretary of State, a Democrat, and said, let's have free, independent inspection of the polls. She said, no! In fact, we found out that in 2017, you said You all and I are neo-Nazis for supporting Donald J. Trump. My message to you this afternoon is very, very simple. We have, in Arizona, 11 electoral votes. And Madam Chair, where we are back there, Arizona is ready to cast 11 electoral votes for the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. It's time that each one of us, no matter where we're from, what corner of the country, go home and fight for Donald J. Trump. God bless you. God bless Donald J. Trump. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone! My name is Tracy Beans. I'm an independent investigative journalist and the editor-in-chief of UncoverDC.com. We do actual journalism. The fake news is the enemy of the people. The reason why there's such a divide in this country is because the media has lied to people for decades. You all saw through the bull, and you're here to support elections with integrity and our president for 4 more years. The media is supposed to be the fifth estate that brings you information so you can make informed decisions. That's gone by the wayside. So independent journalists are coming back to make the media likable again. Support your independent journalists. Support the president and his family. Support transparency and integrity in our elections. God bless all of you and God bless the United States of America.
CNN sucks! CNN sucks! CNN sucks! CNN sucks! CNN sucks! Fox News sucks! Fox News sucks! Fox News sucks! Fox News sucks! How bad is Fox News now? What the hell happened? What the hell happened? What a disgrace! They're the enemy of the people, and I have a message for the enemy of the people, the fake news media. You do not decide who the President of the United States is. You the people do. So we're watching Fox News with some friends. Charlie Kirk has like Charlie Kirk. So we're watching the election results come in. We're up big in Wisconsin. We're up big in Michigan. We're up big in Pennsylvania. Everybody's so happy. We're going to win. Trump goes on TV, he declares victory because he rightfully won. And then everybody goes to sleep. And then what happens? And then the cheating started, right? And the fraud started. They started finding hundreds of thousands of ballots in the dead of night when everybody's sleeping. Do you guys believe the results of this election so far? Do not give an inch. The media, the left, and the establishment Republicans are expecting you to get tired. Are you going to get tired? We're going to fight for President Trump every single day because he's done 4 years fighting for us. We will not get tired. We will not be silent. We will be out here every single day all over the country until we stop the greatest scam in the history of our nation. This should not happen in the United States of America. We are the most successful country in the history of the world. And there's a software from hell called Dominion. Have you noticed that the Dominion glitches only glitch in one direction?
They never find hundreds of thousands of ballots for Donald J. Trump. It's only for Joe Biden. And we're never going to accept Joe Biden as the President of the United States. Hunter Biden should be in jail. Lock him up! 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 We are not letting that crackhead and that pedophile in our house. God bless you. God bless President Trump. And God bless the United States of America. Let's win this.
Gracia, the president of the Latinos for Trump organization. Also, the Brexit Texas state director. Let me tell you, everybody's wondering what happened down in Texas in the border. We are what happened. The Democrats are pissed off, and since 2016 I vowed to get double those numbers from 29%. And I said I'm going to get the president 50 to 60% of the Hispanic Latino vote. We built an army, and that's exactly what we did. As goes Texas, goes the nation. Beto, you ain't coming and taking nothing, buddy. We are Benjamins and we are Deborahs. And let me tell you something, we are armored up. Let me tell you, our heritage was at the Battle of San Jacinto, was at the Battle of the Alamos. Mexicans were the first to get the Medal of Honor. And if you think that we're going to stop fighting now for our freedom and liberty, you got something coming. 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! And I just have one more message for you, Mr. President Donald J. Trump. Latinos for Trump. Hashtag we are white. And hashtag we are the storm. Alright, stop the steal. Stop the steal. Stop the steal. Stop the steal. Thank y'all so much. Our organization is united with people from Brexit, like Jesse Holguin. We made it a point to make sure that the Brexit or Latinos are exiting the Democrat Party. You do not own us. We are God-loving people. We are family-oriented, and we will die for this country. Get ready, Latinos for Trump! Thank y'all, and God bless you, and God bless this United States of America, and God bless Donald J. Trump.
How are you guys doing today? Good morning, America, guys. Let's make one thing clear to the media here. It is not Joe Biden who's the President of the United States. They don't decide that. We decide that. Every single person here, the media doesn't tell us who the president is. CNN doesn't tell us who the president is. We decide who the president of these United States is, and we have decided that Donald J. Trump is our president. He's our president. He's our president. There will be 4 more years of this president. Just a week ago, I was proud to cast the first ballot of my life for this president. And I will not allow that vote to be stolen. I will not allow them to use nefarious tactics to steal this election away. from the American people, because if we let them do it again, we let them do it now, they'll do it 4 years from now, they'll do it again and again and again. We will lose our country, we will lose our democracy. But what they do not realize is that we are here and we will stand up and fight. Every single one of you. We are in this for the long haul. We are not going to roll over and allow our country to be taken away from us. We're not going to allow our country to be stolen away from us. What they thought is they thought we didn't exist. But if you look around, you see the person next to you, and I see the people all the way back there today. Guess what, guys? We do indeed exist. We exist. We exist. Donald Trump didn't need dead people voting for him because he had every single one of you. Every single one of you. This election, the stakes cannot be overstated. We are in a battle for our country's foundational values. We are again at that point that Reagan once talked about it. We are in a time of choosing. But we must decide what type of nation we will be. Will we be a nation of lawlessness and open borders, or will we be a nation of law and order? A nation where the American people are put first. Well, we are still able to say, God bless America. That is the country I want to live in. That is the country that I love. That is the country that I adore. And that is the country that we are out here today to fight for, to protect, and to defend. And we will win. We will win. They think they've got us going. They think they've got us down. But what they have underestimated in this fight is the heart and dedication and the love for our country we have. America is the greatest nation in the world, but it is made great by continued activism, continued work and perseverance of patriots like yourself. And what they realize is we are not taking any off days. The fight is just beginning. And we are in the game for the long haul. We will make America great again. We will keep America great. And Donald Trump, who's the president of these United States for 4 more years. Thank you.
The stakes cannot be overstated. We are in a battle.
Watch out, chop the steel.
We are again.
My name is Daniel Watson.
Reagan once talked about we are in a time for choosing. But we must decide what type of nation we will be.
And the message is this. We are the majority. Back in 2018, I helped Ali Alexander launch Shop the Seal in Broward County, Florida. And there was something interesting that happened in Broward because after the 2018 midterms, we noticed that days after the election, the results started changing. Magically, new votes were found all over Broward County, Florida. We were getting reports of ballot boxes being found in rental cars, in gyms, in shopping malls. And so, what we did was we descended on Broward County, Florida, with a friend of mine named Laura Loomer. Maybe you've heard of her. And let me tell you something. When those corrupt election officials saw Laura Loomer roll up with a megaphone, you could feel the wave of fear. But it wasn't just us. We had an entire army of patriots behind us. We were just a small piece of a greater team. Brave patriots in Florida stepped up, they showed up, they protested, and we held our election officials accountable. They knew that we were outside and that we were watching every single thing they did. We did it because we realized that we had to bypass the mainstream media, that we can't rely on technology or social media anymore, that we need bodies in the streets to demand fair, free, and open elections. They can't ignore us anymore. Thank you guys so much for being here, and the best is yet to come. Welcome. Look at this beautiful day that God has given us. He is shining down on us because we are righteous. I want to introduce you. I'm Alex Phillips. I'm the president of American Priority. This is the vice president of American Priority, Katja Lee. Executive vice president, Tom Shadoway. American Priority's primary mission is to protect and defend free speech. Defending our rights
and words and actions is our most precious right under the Constitution. The left and big tech, and of course the corporate media, have tried to stifle us. They tried to marginalize us. They call us names and they give us labels to create division amongst us. But we ignore them and we hold on to our own. We have stood by our values and beliefs. They use technology to censor us with labels and phony fact checkers. But we wear those badges of honor because we are fighting a righteous mission. We have been tolerant to all they tried to do to deprive us of our rights as Americans because we know better. Now they are censoring our president. They are censoring the truth about our election. They are trying to gaslight us and to believe something we know is not true.
Trust me.
Freedom of speech to vote for our leaders should not be trifled with. We are standing our ground. We are no longer going to allow injustice in our lives. It is time for our leaders to know that the line is drawn here and they should cross no further. Our leaders need to understand that we give them the privilege to lead us, and without us supporting them, they are nothing. We stand for equal rights, equal justice under the Constitution. We stand for free speech under the Constitution. President Trump fights for us every day. President Trump fights for law and order. President Trump fights for the Constitution because that makes us all equal under the law. Today we stand in support of our true president, President Donald J. Trump. Patriots, let me hear you say, Trump! Trump! The president is not far away. I want him to hear all of us say that we have his back. They tell us we can't worship God. I say, screw that! We are here. We are not going anywhere. Mr. President, we have your back, and we will never surrender! I want to introduce the most amazing woman in the world, Concha Lee. Get over here, girl.
Hi, everyone. Listen, we are so excited to be here. I just want to say a special thanks to Amy Kramer and Kylie Kramer and all the different coalitions of people that came together to make this possible. I want to thank you because without you, none of this would be happening. Thank you so much. And I want to close by doing a chant that means a lot to me because divided is what they want, but we are one. We are one. We are one.
All right, guys, we are alongside the street right here in front of Trump International Hotel, and I can't think of a better site to be right now. Of course, we have seen thousands and thousands of people walk by us, and I tried to come up, tens of thousands, and I tried to come up with an idea like this. If I was sitting outside AT&T Stadium that holds about 90,000 plus some on the floor, 100,000, I think we've easily seen 100,000 people walk by.
And that's just the people who walk by right here in front of Trump International, but they're coming in from side streets down the way. We can see them coming in towards the Capitol, coming in from the north, meeting up here in Pennsylvania and heading to the Supreme Court. So it's going to be interesting to try and estimate crowd size here. We're at one point, we've only seen what's coming in front of us.
And I have to give homage to President Trump. Because President Trump brought national attention to the city of Baltimore. And I saw while everybody else was pointing the finger and they were blaming and they were scapegoating, but nobody was taking action. And I said, I'm going to the city of Baltimore. And then one day, We picked up 12 tons of trash in 12 hours. And afterwards I went home to my mom. I was like, Ma, I'm really good at picking up trash. Her heart swelled with pride, as you imagine. And the reason why I bring up this story is because I want you to realize what we're doing here. You are the people taking action. You aren't pointing the finger. You aren't scapegoating. You aren't blaming. You are here! And after Baltimore, I didn't stop. I went to Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, Duquesne, Detroit, Houston, Los Angeles, Kenosha, Milwaukee, Miami, Portland, Pittsburgh, Philly! And I was even protested for picking up trash in San Francisco, California. Well, Nancy Pelosi, hear us now! I want people to know that this is not just a Trump rally. This is a truth rally! And to speak the truth is an act of love. And I want you to realize that that is what this movement is about. This is a movement based on love. And I want you guys to know, I feel this within my bones, within my spirit, from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. And I promise you, as I stand before you, I'm not giving up. I will fight peacefully. I will give everything I have to fight for truth and justice, because freedom is worth fighting for. And I'm so glad you're here, but don't let this be the only time that you take action. When you go home, you're going to call your state legislators and your congressmen, and you are going to demand an audit of the vote in every single state. And I make one last promise to you. We are going to march to the Supreme Court, and after I am done with you here in D.C., I am going to Georgia, and we are going to hold the Senate. I want you guys to know that you have changed my life. I'm deeply grateful, I'm deeply humbled, and I'm deeply honored. And I look forward to remaining in this fight with you. And President Trump, we have your back!
Okay. Who's glad to be at this rally? This is Jennifer Holmes. I'm with Women for America First. We're so glad to have you today. And you talk about Georgia. We've got a great lady here today to talk to you about what she's going to do for the United States of America and the great state of Georgia. Congresswoman-elect Marjorie Taylor Greene. I am so proud to be here with all of you. God bless America. God bless every single one of you for coming out today, standing up for President Trump, standing up for America, and fighting for our freedoms. My name is Marjorie Taylor Greene. I am Congresswoman-elect for Georgia's 14th district.
All right, guys, that was Scott Presler. Of course, we met up with him in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, not too long ago, kind of getting things started there. We're back here in front of the Trump International Hotel as thousands and thousands of people, Brick Suit, have walked by us. And I tell you right now, you're the most recognizable, outside of Donald Trump right now, you might be the most recognizable man here.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I mean, I had, from going to rallies and having been lucky enough to be in the right place and called up on stage a few times, I was already recognizable. And now I emerged out with the love for RSBN, and it's a lot of people.
It is incredible. Absolutely. And of course, with all the developments over the last couple of weeks with the election, it's more important that you support outlets like Right Side Broadcasting, because we are viewer supported by you. So go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. We need donations. Really report what's going on, and that is the number one thing people tell us when they walk by. Thank you for sharing the truth.
Absolutely. And today, it's not just, I mean, if you've been watching the coverage, you know we have multiple teams here. We've got 4 cameramen, we've got 3 crews, we've got 9 correspondents. We're trying our best to bring you as much of this rally as we can and in as organized a fashion as we can, but the rally itself, let's say it's not a model of organization, as you might expect when you put together in less than a week, but they've done a great job of getting the word out, of telling patriots to come here, to stop the steal, and encouraging everybody to be at nation's capital, state capitals across America. And really, we need people to get out there, form your own rallies in your own group, in your own hometown. Wherever you are waving Trump flags on a corner prior to election, get out and start doing that again. Show the president that we're behind him and that we're rallying for him.
And earlier we saw Alex Jones. I think he kind of broke away from the crowd a little earlier than expected. That's what really sent people down Pennsylvania Avenue. I think what we're seeing now is a crowd that was back away from the stage the whole entire time. So that's what we're seeing now.
Yes, I think Alex Jones walked by here maybe 10 minutes after 12, and I think some people, you're absolutely right, split and followed him because there's not really like a great schedule that was put out for everybody. We know the speakers have gone on from there, and we want to show everybody the speakers. So while we've been here, many people have been walking on Pennsylvania Avenue behind us. We believe the speakers are now done, and that the official events at Freedom Plaza, because there will be many unofficial ones, but the official events at Freedom Plaza to our right are now done. People are now walking to our left to the east down Pennsylvania Boulevard, and we'll soon get to Constitution Avenue, I believe, and then from there to the Supreme Court.
I would imagine they're already at the Supreme Court at this point. I'm going to bring this gentleman right here. You know, we love meeting people. First name, where are you from?
I'm Tom. I'm from Vermont, Virginia, sir.
What brings you today?
I love Trump. I love what he's done for our country. He's a great man. I follow him. He's awesome. That they would crush America and restore Trump. Great energy.
Chinese agent Joe Biden is able to get in there, he will put America under permanent lockdown, siege, until we're brought to our knees. Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump, by every metric, won this election. And that's why the corporate media, including Fox News, will not let anybody on to show the proven fraud in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Arizona, in Georgia, in Nevada, and in Minnesota. President Trump won by an even bigger margin, and the evidence of fraud is flooding out. And now big tech that's outlined in China is even suppressing text messages because the criminals are scared of you. The truest thing President Trump ever said was, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. And the globalists know there's been a populist revolution worldwide. They know from Brazil to the UK there's a huge awakening. And they know from Africa to Canada, from Russia to Japan, there's an amazing awakening all over the world as free humanity dreams of a better future, not under Bill Gates and the New World Order. So I want to salute, and I want to thank, and I want to tell you all, you're incredible. The DC police are believing there's upwards
because of 100,000 people lined all the way back from where we came from. And more are coming, and this is just the beginning, because no matter what happens with Trump, it's 1776 time. 1776. 1776. 1776. 1776. 1776. Death to the New World Order, death to tyranny, and life to America and our unborn children. The pedophile globalists and their attempted election steal and the Clinton blackmail rings have only summoned the sleeping giant that is America. You are the tip of the spear. From all over this great land. Old, young, male, female, black, white, gay, straight. You want the American dream. You're not letting the globalists take it. And we're unified in our love of America, our love of God, our love of President Trump, and our love of our shared vision and our red blood. We are unified by our spirit that God made and our connection to the Creator of the universe and our children. And we are unified. And this is the genesis point of the new revolution of information. The Satanist pedophiles the Democrats represent knew the world awakening was here. And so you're seeing right now their desperate operation against humanity. And make no mistake, they control the corporations. They control Hollywood. They control the blue cities and blue states and other governments. And they're going to stay locked down until you all go on welfare, until you all get a guaranteed universal income so they can force you to waive your rights to be forcibly inoculated. Biden's head of this new COVID task force, Biden the fake president, says kill old people at 75. That's Ezekiel Emanuel. And Ezekiel Emanuel says, make people that get food stamps take Bill Gates' deadly vaccine. That violates the Geneva Convention. That violates the Nuremberg Code. And when you do it, you're coming at the American people with violence, and the American people have a right and a duty to resist by any means necessary. So like I told them in Dallas in a speech I gave 12 years ago, I don't know how all this fight's going to end, but if a new world order wants a fight, you better believe they've got one. Despite all their censorship, despite all their intimidation, despite all their attacks, despite all their lies trying to divide us, we are together, and we are strong, and we are unified, and we are going to win. Trump is our president. 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 You here today are at the second July 4th, 1776. You know what this day is? Saturday, November 14th, 2020 will be celebrated for hundreds of years as the second American Revolution. We declare independence against the UN. We declare independence from the communist Chinese. We declare independence from the enemy of America, CNN. And we declare independence from that communist Chinese agent, Joe Biden, and his demonic pedophile family. And we tell them, we believe in peace, but we are bringing you the war of information. And if you can attempt to shut our speech down and attack us, we will defend ourselves. Freedom! 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 On this beautiful day that God has appointed for the Second American Revolution to commence, I just want you all to look at yourselves and at your soul and realize how amazing it is that you made the trek here and that your spirit and what you've ignited here will turn the tide against these degenerate globalists, and this is the beginning of the end of their new world order. Even if, God forbid, they kill President Trump or set up a false flag or steal this election, America is awake now, and America gets how serious the situation is, and America is rising. USA! 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 All of you that came here today, whether you be male, female, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, old, young, you are all as great as an American as George Washington was, because you have the spirit of liberty burning in your soul. And I can feel that incredible energy today. And I can only tell you this, things are going to get rough, things are going to get tough. But if we expose the globalists being behind the COVID-19 bioweapon attack, and the media chicken little fear, and Fauci and Gates running the Wuhan lab that's on record, they are so scared of that. And if we simply expose that, they're going to have to back down and stop. But because they're running asymmetrical, untraditional, psychological war on us, they're able to hide the shadows. But we're here to call out not just Joe Biden, their puppet, but Bill Gates, Fauci, Obama, the Clintons, the Chi-Coms, the EU. We know the COVID-19 lockdown is a siege operation to bankrupt us, and that China's open for business. And we know the Democrats call it a lockdown because that's what you do in a prison. Well, we're not prisoners on the Democrat plantation anymore. We're off the Democrat plantation and we're free. USA! 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 Now, that's right, all these globalist Democrat mayors that are locking us down, from California to New York to Michigan to Pennsylvania, all of them are enemies and the equivalent of Nazis, and they are to be overthrown. The Supreme Court of Michigan openly said that this was tyrannical and that the governor had become a dictator. These people are sick, and it's time to tell them that we are not submitting to them anymore. Now, here's the most important thing to understand. We must not submit. We must get in these people's faces every day. And the minions they've scared, we've got to educate them about what's happening. America is under attack. The globalists are making their move against us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, is just the beginning of turning the tide. We should all pray for President Trump. And I'm going to say a brief prayer and I'm done. Our Heavenly Father, we are very thankful for those that you've touched their heart to be here today. And we see your spirit moving across the land. And we thank you for your divine inspiration. We thank you for your guidance as you lead, guide, and direct us. And we pray, oh Heavenly Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, to heal our land and to put a hedge of protection up around President Trump and to protect the whistleblowers and to have their news come out and the people be awakened. And we thank you, God, for the human spirit that shines so bright across the world, but so very bright in America. And we your blessing and help us move forward against this evil. And we ask you to continue to bless our nation, and we absolutely commit to you on your holy altar to never submit to Satan and these globalist pedophiles, and we will defeat their new world order. Amen. USA, 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 USA. We have only begun to fight. 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 I salute you all. Got some more great speakers. God bless you and keep up the fight. History happened here today.
Give it up for Alex Jones, everybody! I'm just going to say one thing here real quick. I'm going to do what the media is afraid to do because they're all cowards. And right here today, in front of the Supreme Court, I declare that Donald J. Trump won re-election in 2020! 4 more years! 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 Woo! Alright, listen guys, I know you guys have made a path for me before. If we can try to recreate that for the speakers, and if we can everybody just take one half a step back so we have a little space on the stage to move people through, that would be greatly appreciated. You guys are awesome. It's amazing how easy it is to work with you guys. Listen, look how beautiful this crowd is. Whoa!
I want to thank you guys so much for coming out here today. This is we, the people, and we are not going to allow them to do this funny business with our elections. We are here. Women for America First has put on this amazing march for Trump to demand transparency and election integrity. We are all here because we love our country and our Constitution. We are a peaceful crowd. This is a movement based on love. And we sure as heck love our country. And we love President Donald J. Trump. So I need you guys, if you like this event and are proud to be here, I need you to go to TrumpMarch.com and support our efforts because we are able to pull this off in less than 5 days, which is unheard of. And you know why we can do it? Because of we the people, we were not going to just idly sit back and watch and declare Joe Biden our next president. Because you know what the American people know? The American people know that the media does not declare an election. No state's votes have been certified, and we will not stop fighting, and President Donald J. Trump is a fighter, and he is going to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. And that's why we started the first part of the march at Freedom Plaza and came here to the United States Supreme Court. And how about that new justice we have? ACB! 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 And you know what? She is proof that the left just doesn't like you if you don't fit their mold, because she is proof that you can have it all. She's the first justice with young school-age children. She is a brilliant mind, and she is going to have our conservative values represented on the United States Supreme Court. So I need you guys to make sure that everybody knows one of President Donald J. Trump's greatest compliments is the justices, 3 Supreme Court justices that he put on the Supreme Court and over 300 judges at local levels and federal levels. And you know what? No matter what happens this election, that legacy will last for many generations. And I need you guys to make this path open, please.
I think there's 2 million of us here. What do you guys say? Now we have an incredible lineup of speakers. Now we're still waiting for some of the people who are at the Freedom Plaza to come back. So bear with us for a minute. We're going to start the program in just a minute. We're going to try to get a little music going if we can. But in the meantime, Trump, 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 Trump. I pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I sing the national anthem?
Hi guys, my name's Libby. I'm with Brightside Broadcasting. I'm here broadcasting. Let's sing the national anthem real quick. Hear me, everyone? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket where they moved, the bombs bursting in air, they proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled
heard it here from the Supreme Court of the United States, our very own Libby Krieger, doing the national anthem on stage. So, congrats to Libby, that was huge. She did such a good job. She sounded fantastic when she was doing it. Here she is, she's actually coming over right now. Libby, how was that?
That was really, my adrenaline is just going crazy right now. We told them earlier that I would be happy to do that if they had no one else planned, and then I didn't think it was going to happen, and they suddenly called me up on stage just about a minute ago, so that was really, really exciting. I'm glad you guys all got to see that too. So I think we're having more speakers here in just a minute.
Stand up, demand transparency, and protect our election process.
Yeah, so everyone's pretty much made their way from Freedom Plaza down towards the Supreme Court. It started down Freedom Plaza, which is a little closer to the White House than the Supreme Court is, This is down near the Capitol building, and so
the hardest working and greatest president ever.
Donations. So. Real quick, everybody's made their way here. We're here. We're 100% viewer funded, like I've said before, and it's all because of you that we're able to do this. This is why we're the only media company here. There's nobody else around here besides some photographers and some little video cameras, but there's really no other network here besides us who's showing the crowds. And that's only possible through your generosity. So thank you so much. There's a few ways of doing that. How can they do it, Libby?
Okay, so first of all, if you're watching on our YouTube live stream, you can just donate to the YouTube Super Chat right there. We love reading those later. We might get on and read some of those messages. Leave us a nice message there. We really appreciate that. Second way you can donate is go to our website at www.rsbnetwork.com/donate. You can also leave us a message there. We love watching those come in and reading those messages. And third way, if you don't like doing it over the computer, you can just check in the mail. That address is 1550 Opelika Road, Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 3683. Again, that address is 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 3683. And we are the only media outlet here right now, and we want to be continued. Because I know right now, a lot of us thought Fox News was different from the mainstream media, like CNN, but this election cycle, we found out that truly was not the case. So we want to be that alternative for you as you're looking for different sources of news. So we're really just trying to do that. If you're helping us do that, we really appreciate that. Also, we're one of the only patriotic media ever. We are out here with these Patriots in the news. So again, we just really appreciate all the donations because we couldn't do this without you guys.
On every single
So it looks like we have some more speakers coming up here. I see Representative Louis Gomer is here as well. Representative Louis Gomer, we interviewed actually in Philadelphia a few days ago. First District of Texas, he's here. I think he might be speaking a little bit. But as we're here in front of the Supreme Court, I think it's so important to realize the power that the Supreme Court has, especially with the stakes that let's say the Senate goes to the Democrats, if they somehow get those 2 seats in Georgia, and they have Biden in the White House, that means they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, which is really scary because they might try to pack the courts, and the integrity of our courts then are up for question. And they put all these leftist judicial activists on the court. It would be really hard to ever preserve our nation, I think, after that. So that's at stake here. That's really scary to know. And also just what is at stake with our election integrity with this. If we allow possible fraud to dictate the outcome of our election, how can we ever expect fair and free elections where the people are actually deciding in the future? No, I think that's really concerning when you talk about the election integrity.
I think election integrity is one of the most important things, if nothing else comes out of this. But ensuring that we have a fair election is a huge part of what our democracy is going to look like moving forward. We're a democratic republic, and I tweeted the other day, I said that we're a democratic republic, not the banana republic, so we really need to get control of how our voting systems are managed and who's in control of them, and it will definitely provide for a better, safer America moving forward, because if they can rig this election, they'll be able to rig any election moving forward once they're in power, and we do not want that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're silent now, you can't expect anything to change. We're not standing up for what is right in the laws of this country now.
I tell you
what I thought was interesting, Philip, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, is that
in one place.
Looks like we have a speaker over there, so we're going to cut over there.
Now we gotta stand behind our president, right? Donald J. Trump. Now I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a very spiritual woman. And I knew 4 years ago the Lord laid me down in a dream. And in that dream, he showed me the president. And after 8 years of that foolishness, because we all know the enemy is the author of confusion, right? I said, you know what? I'm going to get behind the president. Something was wrong. Everybody was attacking our president. And I found that very problematic. So
Excuse me, Major. Hello. Why is he allowed to film on the sidewalk and I can't? I have a press contract. I'd love to show you. Okay. So the woman over there in pink hat is currently being detained according to the Major of Capitol Police.
They're actually doing a stop on her, and they're running her information through
But again, we just want to tell you, we are the out here that we have seen today. In the mainstream media, they are not going to give you a fair shot. And we thought Fox News, I've said this before, we thought they were more conservative. We thought they would stand behind the president more, and clearly that is not the case. So the three things you can donate to us, because
Thank you.
Okay, we don't hate you. You just want that. I just pulled up right here. Cool. Straight up. Cool. Yeah, bro. Hey. So, I'm going to be carefully in you. I'm going to Hey, bro. Hey, even Kanye thinks he says it's bro. Hey, I know, you don't understand. Even Kanye just still bro. It just takes some time. It's gonna take some time. Yo, my man, put the sign down, bro. You standing up for Biden? Biden, my man? How many of your big homies is locked up because of Biden? Let me know. How many of your big homies is locked up because of Trump? How many of your big homies is locked up because of Trump? How many of your big homies is locked up because of Biden? Okay, don't you say right now?
Alright guys, we are standing right in the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue and we couldn't be more excited. And I was just going to tell you before we got this call that we were up, is that, did you ever imagine this many people would show up? I know that you say it's 1 million people, and you kind of go, okay, 1 million people, but my goodness, look at the crowd. Look at
for sure.
Yeah, we want to thank all of our viewers. Of course, we are viewer supported, so go to rsbnetwork.com/donate so we can keep gathering all these news elements as we've covered the rallies, but now it's really a post-election coverage, and we kind of need your help with that, so please donate what you can. Plus, we have a wonderful partner today, Mike Lindell, who doesn't like that guy, and My Pillow, and of course, we've got some great offers for you right now at home.
Yes, we know that getting a restful night's sleep is crucial to waking up on the right side of bed. And with Christmas right around the corner, now's the perfect time to check out one of our favorite Patreon businesses, and that's MyPillow.com. So visit MyPillow.com, stock up on gifts for yourself and all your loved ones. Now, MyPillow guarantees ultimate relaxation with a wide variety of items to choose from. They've got ultra plush towels, even got dog beds, things for your pets, memory foam mattress toppers, and of course, there's new great sheets with the Giza cotton. That's that fabulous cotton from Egypt. They've got those as well. So check all their inventory online at www.mypillow.com. That's www.mypillow.com. And when you check out, use code RSBN. That's code RSBN for up to 66% off your order. So that's 66% off your order with code RSBN at www.mypillow.com. This is one of their hugest discounts ever, and so make sure that you are able to take advantage of it while it lasts. And we thank them for being our partner.
Yeah, because without them, let's be honest, Brick Suit, this doesn't exist, and with the viewers as well. But we're here, you've seen the speakers, you've seen the people, you've seen the love. We were just in the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue, and where the cross street here is in front of Trump International Hotel, and we have just been bombed by love and support from our viewers. Of course, with the suit, everyone recognizes you, but Zoe, what does it feel like to work for Light Side and receive so much admiration for what we do?
Well, Brian, I'm honored, and there's no words to explain the amount of, the feeling, I should say, the feeling that I have being out here and amongst all of these American patriots. You know, this is what matters here in America, us coming together in unity, standing up for our rights, and standing up again for someone who's wanting to keep America free. I want to also shout out a lot of the people that are in the live chat right now and donations coming through as well. Seems we here, Stephen, he says, does a tree of liberty need watering? Question mark. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your donation. We have Mr. J. He says a donation as well. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all support. Mark, he says, welcome. Thank you, MAGA 2020. Thank you so much for that. Claire Larson, thank you for your donation. And of course, if you guys have any questions for us, of course, we're out here seeing what's going on. If you guys want to get any specific shots, let us know. We'll try our best to get that happening for you all. We have a donation from Peggy Brown. Peggy Brown, thank you so much for that. We have Lynn Winter. She says MAGA 2020, Trump 2020. And she's giving a shout out from California. We have another donation here from another member as well, or another Raymond Champion. He said, we will not obey orders to impose martial law or a state of emergency on a state or to enter in with force into a state without the express consent and invitation of that state's legislature and governor. Thank you so much for that as well. So I see you guys in here, of course.
We see you.
Yep.
We see
in spirit and soul here as well.
There you go. I see a good friend of mine. I want to bring this gentleman right now. This is Henry Davis. I met you several years ago, and of course you became internet famous. You've been on Fox News, you've been on Bill O'Reilly, you've been on Hannity, you've been on all these programs, because I think from the very start you were really intricate of getting the African American population behind this president. What is it about President Trump that you love so much?
His integrity. I love his integrity. I love the way he speaks his mind. He's just like me. He don't hold back. He's not afraid to say what's really on his mind, and he's the greatest thing, in my opinion, that ever happened to black people as far as presidency is concerned.
And you've walked in the inner cities and you've called out other politicians for not reinvesting in the inner city, and you've done a lot of work to get attention on areas that need the money.
Yeah, what we've done is I've worked with the St. Louis Blight Authority, Bill Pulte, and Jack Dorsey on Twitter. They came to St. Louis and we knocked down 40 vacant buildings, which people go in, homeless people, some people overdose and all that type of stuff. We built playgrounds for the neighborhood community. We feed the homeless people. I have a charity called, a nonprofit called Conservative Urban Project. Okay. But enough about me, Brian. And I just want to say that you, dude, I knew you way back, and you were one of the first people to bring me on your show, man. And I just want to say to America and to everybody watching right now, and especially to this network, y'all got a gem right here. Y'all got somebody right here that's true, that's down for what he's a stand-up guy. I love you, man. I really thank you for all that you've done for me and my platform. Yeah. I ain't for the Crown National on the network.
There's probably about a million people watching this right now.
But Brian, I'm telling y'all, Brian, this dude right here, he's a stand-up guy. I love you, man. I'll talk to you later.
Let's hug it out right now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm telling y'all, this is the man right here.
And social media for Henry Davis is what?
Henry Davis. Y'all can follow me on Facebook at Henry Davis. Go on Twitter, Henry Hood Davis. I'm on Parler at Henry Hood Davis. I'm the only black Donald Trump supporter, famous, that's fighting for the hood. I'm the only one, and I stand on that.
Yeah, God bless you, man. Good work there. Good to see you. I love you more. Great seeing you out here.
Go Trump.
Go Trump. Go Trump or die, right? Okay, so we're right here, or cry, or die either at this point. Wow, those are powerful words. And you know what? I've worked with Henry when there wasn't radio, and he's done so much for the inner cities, and he's fighting for the little guy.
I think, you know, that's when you. It's interesting when you're doing a rally and you're covering a broad scale, but when you're doing something like this and you're able to speak with so many of the supporters who are coming up here, you really see all the little things. I mean, you're coming down from 30,000 feet, you're on the ground floor, you're seeing the level of support for our president, which is really unprecedented, and it's from all walks of life. It's fantastic. President Trump has done so much for so many people because they're all Americans. He's not doing it because they're in a group. He's not doing it because they're in a religion. He's not doing it because of their gender or sexual preference. He is doing his best for America, for Americans. And You know, he said that in a recent interview. He was asked to describe his supporters. He said, people love America. He could not be more correct in that. He's completely correct. And, you know, as one of his supporters, I can say, we echo the sentiment. We love President Trump and we love our country.
I was telling this earlier. I can't think of another president that post-election, I know that there's a lot of things that are undecided right now, that 1 million people would show up after an election and say, we love you, Mr. President. That doesn't happen. I'm 51 years old. I've seen a dozen of presidential campaigns. I've never seen that. So if this is any indication what could be happening 4 years from now, my message is this. We come from love, and we love this country. All right, we appreciate this country. A lot of people hate this country, what we stand for. We live by faith, they live by fear. And my message to you Democrats is this. 4 years from now, you better think of another platform to run on, because it's not going to be what your accomplishments were the last 4 years. So I'm telling you, this is going to be a very different country if we don't change it right now than it is 4 years from now.
Yes, and we've seen firsthand in China, communism, how they are rallying even for the liberties and lusting after being American. They want to come here, they want to be free, but even for them standing up against the government, people have been murdered, I would say, murdered and attacked for doing that. And we're able to come out here and speak freely and state that what's been going on, the criminal activity that's been going on here in government. So I'm really proud of this country.
And I'm proud of the Christian vote that's come out. And back in 2016, about 20 million Christians did not vote in that election. And that is a very crucial vote that we needed this year. And I think it did show up, and we'll see more stats from that. But I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to call him my president. And whatever happens in the next couple of weeks, no matter what happens, this man is not leaving the public sphere of politics and policy in this country. No doubt about it. He may not be in office in January. God willing, he is. But if he's not in office, he's still a part of our culture here, and that's something to think about. Let's step aside here real quick and let you kind of show it. It is starting to clear out a little bit. I would say there's still obviously people making its way from Freedom Park, but my goodness, Zoe, we've probably seen at least 100,000, if not more people here. And of course, Brick Suit's over there doing a nice little interview with somebody, which is nice. You know, hey, everybody knows Brick Suit. Come on now. There, everyone knows Brick Suit. Anyway, we love you so much, and we also just want to give a shout out to our viewers. I mean, you've shared this cast, you've donated, and we appreciate that so much, because without you, we can't be here. And our goal after all of this is, yes, we're there for the rallies. We are the best coverage you can get for the rallies. But let's be honest, post-rallies, it's really about getting the news, it's getting the facts, and keeping all of the factual evidence and what's really going on in America first and foremost in front of the American people. So that's what we're trying to do here. It should not be that hard to find the truth. Anyway, we're walking towards the Capitol, kind of a great view in front of us. How many times you get to walk right in the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue? Let's just be honest.
Right. This is indeed a rare occasion, but of course I'm more than grateful to be a part of this. Just another thing, like looking at all the issues that popped up during this election, one of the issues being color. We're so fixated on the color of our skin rather than what unifies us, and that's us as American citizens, legal American citizens, coming together and identifying the things that we agree on and that make us one, I would say, as a nation. And instead of using our color to cause that separation, which we have already gotten away from that. And of course, us as a nation, yeah, we had our mistakes. We've had the situations that caused, all of these negative, I would say, outlooks for our nation, but we've overcome that, and we're here today standing up and fighting for our rights, and we want that freedom to continue. So with that, again, the color of our skin does not matter. God sees us as our heart. He does not see us for our skin color, and he does not see us for our titles either. So all of these labels and everything, we want to identify what we need to find our identity in Christ. It starts with us in our heart. And just this time, it's for me emotional, because this is nothing but the power of God reaching out to the hearts of the American people and people all over the world. Again, his message being preached and bringing these people to basically, I would say, on their knees, praying to God, asking Him to restore our country and to keep the left from infiltrating, actually the enemy from infiltrating and taking any sign of God out of this country.
And of course, we got a shirt in front of us that says, Jesus is my Savior, Trump is my President, which is right on. But to your point, this is a battle between good and evil. And it's a spiritual battle that's going on in our country. And we have got to stand up. And like I said earlier, if the cards fall and he's not reelected, that just means, so we have to double down and go even harder the next 4 years and make sure that we get the truth out, make sure we get people out to vote, and make sure we change. And I said change. We have got to eliminate this mail-in ballot situation, because I think that opened up a door to fraud, a ton of fraud.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And let's not stop at this. Even, of course, God has the final say in all this. Even after 67 days, however many days are left in all this, we still have to continue the momentum. We've all been called to use our voices, our God-given voices, to make sure that these things do not happen here in this country, to be heard, to be seen. And it's important. It's really important. But of course, being at events like this today, and if the rallies up until the election, you know, it's been really inspiring for me. More so, I would say, when I lost my contract for modeling, that was really the starting point for me, because it was something that cost me for speaking up and speaking out, and I didn't even think it would have that much of an impact on my life. But here I am today. Also launched a brand, Orange Man Rad instead rather than Bad, and just showing that representation for our president. But for me, that's something that, because I had to suffer as far as getting something taken away from me that I cherished, because I decided to support our president, I decided to give back in a way and show that, and basically throw it in their faces, like, okay, yeah, I can model my own clothing. I don't have to model for any other brands. Okay, I can start my own brand. So I'm really excited to see what comes from all of this. There's so many talented people out here, so many gifts, and I believe America has a greater future, more blessings to come. So, wait, I see that you were Brickman. I see that you just caught up with us as well. Yeah, go ahead and share that.
It was a foreign press, right?
Yeah, it was Sky News out of Australia. They actually interviewed me on my trip across America in September, and I was on the rally in PA. So they did a thing for 60 Minutes Australia, where they followed me for a couple days out of Phoenix, and so that's where they recognized me from. And I can tell you, just catching my breath here, I can tell you it was really, really interesting this season to go from being at rallies to being on news media and something like that, and then actually being on the press risers at a couple rallies where they were right next to us, where Sky News was covering the rally. And so I think I could be the only person that's gone from the rallies to being called on stage to actually be covering the rallies and covering things like this. And I don't know, it's been a very humbling journey. I've learned a lot along the way. So many people have been so gracious, and the opportunity to work with Right Side Broadcasting has been absolutely incredible for me. It's tough for me to talk about it and not get emotional about it, because it's been an opportunity to share my support for President Trump with so many people, with such a great company that is recognized for doing exactly that, for bringing the public the exact support that the president has, and in an unvarnished, direct, and live medium. So I'm going to go back to Brian right now as we approach the Capitol.
What a view we're taking a look at right now, and of course I'm starting to see a lot of people walking back towards us, and I don't know if that's because they're turning him around and coming back this way.
My guess is that they've realized that they're not going to be able to make it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that many people.
We saw people going this way for at least almost 40 minutes before the rally was officially over. So anybody who stayed at Freedom Plaza and then decided to go to the Supreme Court, there's no way they're making it anywhere near the front. There's no way, they might not even be able to make it. So, there's people, I think we're seeing a bounce back, where people have gotten it as far as they can get, and they're saying, we're not going to be able to make it, and we're going to turn back. They're not coming back because they don't support the president.
Oh no,
because they don't want to see the venue. I think it's just a matter of. I think
they can't get in.
Yeah, there's just more people here than the event can fit. Now, the spin on that would be there were only X thousands of people at the Supreme Court, and they won't be talking about all the people who left the Supreme Court steps and actually started going back to their cars or back to the hotels because. Literally, they might have been as far as a mile away, not able to hear anything, let alone see anything.
Well, it's interesting you say that because earlier President Trump did a drive-by at about 10:30 outside Freedom Plaza, and did a drive-by, did a little circle U-turn. We got a little footage of him, and that was a special moment because that was a moment that I've never seen the president in that format. We see him on stage at a rally. We've seen rally Trump. We have not seen rally. We haven't seen Trump in the car driving around, give right side, yes sir. Best network, what he said.
Well, the only time he did that was at Walter Reed. Okay. Well, while he was in the hospital, he did come out, in the hospital briefly, so he did come out and do that drive. But I've never seen anything like that, and I have to think that even more so than a Walter Reed, boy, I know that the president wanted to do that. I cannot, in my mind, I'm thinking he had to override some objections from Secret Service. I can't imagine that it was the safest thing for him to do. It certainly was the right thing for him to do. And he had signaled as much the day before in Twitter when he said that he might stop by and visit the people coming out for the rally. So he knows that we're here for him. And he's right. We are. We love our president.
We love our president, and that's not going to change. From a logistics standpoint, all of our crews are out and about. We've been live since 10 o'clock. Our gear, our batteries are getting a little low. I think we have like 10 minutes left on this battery here. So it's getting really down to the end of the wire here. We're going to say, we're saying goodbye from here for right now. Just kind of looking at my phone, getting the notes here. Let's see what we're doing now. Just trying to get the heads up on everything. I can't read my messages right there. You might want to do that. But we certainly appreciate everyone watching us today. It's been an effort to bring all of this to you. We've got crews spread out all around DC, and you know what? The love and support we've gotten from our viewers today is unbelievable. I want to remind everyone to go to Rightside Broadcasting Network.com.
RSB Network.
Thank you. I'm so tired right now, but I think we walked 20 miles.
RSBNetwork.com/donate.
There you go. Donate. Yeah, absolutely. And donate what you can. We love bringing this coverage to you, and hopefully you've watched this today, you've shared it with your friends, and enjoy the coverage as well as we support this president. But the number one thing we need to do right now is pray for our president. There's power in prayer. There's absolutely power in prayer. And I said this earlier, no matter what happens here in another 60 days, this president, Donald J. Trump, is going nowhere in the fabric of our country, and he will lead us down to better times.
We're going to move to the side.
Yeah, because I'll end up in the ambulance here. But anyway, just trying to read the final words, guys. What do we have here?
Well, I'd like to say one thing about it. While you're talking about, us doing different events now. If you've been watching Right Side Broadcasting, you know how well the coverage has evolved from the first days of covering rallies. And we're going to get better at events like this too with your support. So if you keep sending us to these events, we are going to get better and better at it. And we're going to be covering these in ways that the national news media is not, from the start to the beginning with multiple locations whenever we can, and doing the best job possible because you're sending us there with that support from yourselves.
Yeah, and like the lady that just said hello, thank you very much. Yeah, because of you, we're Right Side, right? Because of you, that's why we love you so much. Anyway, take a look at that view as we kind of bump away from here. What a beautiful sight, our nation's capital. And we can all just pray at this point that our president remains in office, and that there's better days ahead of us, and that the Lord above is looking over this great nation. From DC, we'll send it back to the studio.
We are going to be wrapping our coverage today in Washington, D.C. It was a fun-filled event. We had thousands of people. We had 4 cameras, 9 correspondents, but we're running out of battery life and everything else. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in. And we're also going to hand it over to Liz to tell you about our partner for the day.
Thank you, Mike. As some of you saw earlier, the CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, gave an incredible speech today earlier at the Freedom Plaza at the start of the March for President Trump here today.
I'm Mike Lindell.
MyPillow.com. One of their biggest discount codes to date is code RSBN that you can use at checkout for up to 66% off your order. They have so many products, hundreds of them, ranging from dog beds, memory foam mattress topper, Giza dream sheets, pillows, of course, you name it, plush towels. I mean, they have everything. Christmas is right around the corner, and this is the perfect chance and opportunity to grab some great gifts for all your loved ones. Noting that the CEO is a huge Patriot and Trump supporter, and we love to help support other patriots. So again, go to mypillow.com and use code RSBN for up to 66% off your order. A huge discount that we're very happy to have and give to you guys. We are going to just toss it back down. I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity. I know there's a lot of us, but it's been crazy here in DC. Hi to everyone watching back home. We want to be live as much as possible, but we still have to figure out what's going on. So I'm going to toss it down and let everyone say hey and say goodbye, and we'll figure out what's going on.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that, were out of our control that we try to navigate with. Like we said, we have 9 correspondents out here today, 4 cameramen, and we try to show you all the different angles from the Freedom Plaza to the Supreme Court, to try to interview people, and we try to do our best out here. They don't call it the Million MAGA March for a reason. It's packed. So we're happy to be here. We couldn't be here without you. Physically, we could not be here without you. So again, we thank you, and we have 4 more years. We're going to continue to do our job no matter what the media says, no matter what happens. We're going to be here. You're going to be here with us, and thank you for tuning in with us. And Adrian, last words for you.
Yeah, just keep supporting our president. It doesn't seem like hopeful times right now, but all your enthusiasm and your patriotism and all your support for our network and the Trump and his legal team, that really goes a long way in his fight for a fair election. So thank you all for joining, and I'm going to hand it off to Mike for his final words.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I want to thank every last one of you for tuning in. You guys are incredible. We are committed to being viewer funded. Viewer funded is the reason why we're able to bring you coverage the way that we have, the way that we're not politically correct. We're able to show you what's actually happening. We're able to tell the truth, and our goal is to supplant Fox News. You guys have seen what Fox News has done. If you want to support the future of independent media that's going to tell the truth and be America first and not be beholden to big corporations or investors, then continue to support us at Right Side Broadcasting. I want to thank every last one of you for tuning in, supporting us throughout this campaign, and we're hopeful for the right outcome, but just stay tuned, and God bless you. God bless President Trump. God bless the United States of America.
Alright guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm not even sure how this sounds right now back here in the studio. I just want to say sorry that we're having to cut it a little early, but this event lasted a lot longer than we thought. We were here out live for about 4.5, 5 hours. We've exhausted all of our batteries. Also, there's no service down at the Supreme Court. Right now, where the event is wrapping up, there's no service for us to get a signal out right now, so we are going to wrap it. But we are going to be back tomorrow live, I think, in D.C. for a walk-away march or rally, so stay tuned for that. I want to thank all of you. You know, we are all doing everything we can to help the president. Obviously, we've supported him for the last 5 years, and we're going to do everything in our power. We're really small, and so we're trying to grow. 4 cameras might have been a bit of a stretch today for us. It was kind of an experiment to see if we could get by
make it happen. And sometimes it looked kind of good, and then other times it looked pretty bad. But we're going to get better. We're going to invest, just like you've seen our production quality at rallies get better. We'll get better at doing this. We'll have to upgrade some stuff here in the studio and everything just to be ready for it next time. But at least you got to see what most of the media would not show you today. You didn't see Fox or any like these folks live. So we did our best, and we thank you for supporting us, helping us get there. There are massive amounts of people in the streets of Washington, D.C. today support the president. Look, this is everybody. There's 73 million people right now across America who are very upset and who have a right to be upset. And we cannot let them get away with this. So this is what we're doing. We're going to be out in full force across the country to cover all these protests and events and doing everything in our power to be able to help the cause. This is what we bring to the table. We know how to live stream, so that's what we're doing. We're going to continue to go as long as you'll continue to get us there. If you want to support us, rsbnetwork.com/donate. God bless you all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you back tomorrow for a Walk Away March live from DC. Good afternoon. Have a great day. Wait, I think we're going to go back to Mike for just a second. Stand by.
Alright guys, so we're kind of at a standstill right now. Just basically a standoff. Not sure what's going to happen at this point, but it's I don't think it's going to be good. Things are already heating up, so I might have to shut the stream down in a little while. Maybe go back to the hotel, charge up, and then come back out for later because I don't see this ending anytime soon.
Straight to you, the American people. There is going to be a walk-away rally tomorrow here in Washington, D.C. It's going to begin at 10 a.m. This is the hashtag walkaway campaign. You can follow them on Twitter at RealWalkAway. It is going to be tomorrow, Sunday morning, D.C. They said, join us in the fight for free, fair, and transparent elections. Please retweet. It's going to be at John Marshall Park tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Again, it is being called the Defend Democracy Rally, if you want to look it up. There are going to be, it looks like, about 15 or so speakers there tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. And of course, we have the campaign founder, Brandon Straka. We also have Rose Tennant, Ashley St. Clair, Megan Barth, CJ Pearson, who spoke earlier today. There's a handful of other people speaking tomorrow. And our team here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we want to show you the beautiful Washington, D.C. and all the people that have come out this weekend from all over the United States here to support their president. Hundreds. I want to say hundreds of thousands. I'm guessing 100,000 showed up today, but I have no idea. What do y'all think?
Way more than that.
Way more than that, and that's the thing. That's a perfect segue into this next thing that I want to talk about. This next very important point. This was so massive and so poorly planned that we weren't able to even bring you the coverage that you're used to. We are usually covering things that are much more up to snuff. For example, the president's rallies, where we have live feed, we have a stationary platform, we can pan the crowd, we can see the line. This was a grassroots, organized or unorganized event, but it was grassroots. And when you have something that's grassroots, things don't always go according to plan. So that's the thing. You guys need to understand that. I know some people are frustrated and angry. Some people are even calling us fake news. Come on, you cannot call everything you don't like fake news. We're the only news that's actually covering President Trump. You have other news out here. You don't see Fox News out here. You don't see ABC News out here. So we appreciate people that support us, even though there's bumps in the road. That's what happens when you're a small startup company. That's what happens when you're fighting a big machine. We're raging against the machine right now. So we just want to reiterate that.
Difficult it was, even as media, to be able to get coverage of today.
It was incredibly difficult just to get coverage. We had to fight through a crowd of people just to get to the front to cover the speakers that we did cover. Mind you, yeah, and we were in line for 5 hours, so, or, standing out there. So we've been working really hard.
There was, at the rallies, there's always a press Wi-Fi. You have Wi-Fi service for press to be able to do their job and go on your phones and check your emails and your messages and things like that. And we weren't able to do that. So our communication got off, and so messages that we were receiving from from Joe, our CEO, we were receiving 3 minutes later. So that was throwing everybody else off. But nevertheless, we stayed live with whatever we had and with what we could do. And I think with the skills of our abundant team, we were able to pull something together. So, things are not always going to be glam. You're not always going to see something that you want to see, or it's not going to be top notch the way you want it to be. You're not here with us right now, so we can only do so much with what we have, but we do appreciate your patience and we do appreciate your continued support. But go ahead.
And to add to that, the Wi-Fi issues, normally we always give the shout outs to our donors, which we extremely appreciate, but because of the Wi-Fi issues, our chats weren't loading up quickly enough. So if you feel underappreciated, please know that we appreciate all that you do for us, and we would have called you out literally every single time, anytime we could, because we do that before. But just to add to that, that's an explanation for perhaps why we weren't as communicative with you folks. But we still love you. We love your support. We keep supporting RSBN.
Yes, thank you. And the biggest insult, and then I'll wrap it up after this, seriously. The biggest insult you can give us is to call us fake news, because we are literally the opposite of fake news.
People out here, and there's 13 of us, 9 correspondents, 4 cameramen. We're fighting through. We're the only people out here. And I don't know when you tuned in and what stood out to you to call us fake news, but we've been talking to Patriots from the moment that we were able to go live, at least here with our incredible cameraman Gage. We were able to go live and talk to Patriots and interview people and get people to speak into the microphone. So no, we're not fake news because we're not in the bunker. No, we're not fake news because we're not calling this election. No, we're not fake news because we're not giving false information or anything. We're here, we're patriots, we're people. We have a camera, we have a mic, we have a heart, we have a soul, we have a brain, and we're talking to people. So fake news doesn't do that. Fake news is Fox, Newsmax, all these people. I hate to call them out, but I will, because if you have the audacity to call us fake news, I don't know where you're getting your fake news. Cookie Monster, Ghostbusters, I don't know.
And if we're fake news, where are you going to get real news? That's what I want to know. Who's real news? If RSB Network is not real news, then there is no real news. I'm saying it. I'm going to be bold about it, because it really frustrates me that we have some viewers, not all, obviously, not all. The squeaky wheel gets the grease in this situation. If you do not like this, if you think that we're fake news, go find real news. Go find it. And let me know how that works out for you when you come back, because you realize we are the real news. We are the media now. This is a much bigger fight
than you being upset that we couldn't bring coverage of certain speakers. We're doing our best. We're working hard. We're working 24/7 to bring you the coverage that we have brought. My Pillow. We're going to tell you about My Pillow. I don't have the script up right now. Liz, you're so much better at it. We're going to tell you about My Pillow right now because this is another way for you to support real news and support an independent company, a pro-America company, America First company. Adrian's going to tell you about it right now.
Introducing our partner, My Pillow. We know that getting a restful night's sleep is crucial to waking up on the right side of the bed. And with Christmas right around the corner, now is the perfect time to check out one of our favorite Patriot-owned companies. Visit mypillow.com and stock up on your favorite gifts for yourself and your loved ones. My Pillow guarantees ultimate relaxation with a wide variety of items to choose from, ranging from Ultra Plus towels, dog beds, memory foam mattress toppers, Giza dream sheets, and more. You can check out their inventory at www.mypillow.com. Use the code RSBN to receive 66% off of your entire order. Again, that's code RSBN at www.mypillow.com. This is one of the hugest discount codes to date, so make sure you use it while it lasts. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching again. We're going to continue giving you live coverage, non-scripted here because we're on the right side of history. So God bless you, God bless President Trump, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You got strong. Don't tread on me. Don't tread on me. You got little LGBT you. Look, discriminate with all Americans. Common sense. Common sense. We the people. No, actually saved someone from falling off there.
He's the only one with an eagle on top. I said, I don't think anybody knows that the eagle is a national bird.
Hear that? USA! 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 USA!
Are they using MPL1?
That any president since they have
I'm so glad my son won.
I really like that. Said he would wave. Well, I know the motorcade came by before, and
many interviews in as I can while I'm walking here. It's just gonna be tough because I gotta avoid the MSM. But we'll go back. I'll loop back around and make sure that I get a chance to get back with the main group. But you're gonna have to tune into the YouTube later on, guys, because I'm gonna need to go ahead and put together clips so that I can better give you guys a full breakdown of what's happening out there. Where's this other stream at that's showing the standoff between the BLM and the supporters? Oh, you're welcome, Crystal. So I don't know where these marches are going, but there's, I mean, a couple thousand people in the square, and then you got all these guys over here.
Nobody knows who it is. We got a pretty dang good idea though. It's definitely like people like Steve Bannon and fucking probably some media heads and celebrities on the channel tend to actually are in the know with students. That's all that is. It's very kept. Yeah, that way it can't be infiltrated. Media. Is definitely part of it too. Major Flynn is obviously part. He's one of those who started.
We're not going anywhere. Stay tuned. Switching battery.
I'm with you.
He said he works for the Trump campaign. Might be trying to break it with family. I love it. Great shirt.
Thank you.
I've been following that since basically November 17, as soon as like from the 8th post on. So, you know, future proofs past. You know, where we go one, we go all. We're going to win the whole damn thing. Stop the pedophiles, stop the worldwide satanic pedophile club. You know, everything, Hunter Biden's laptop, I've seen it. I've tried to talk to people about it. They even refuse to look at the links because they're so bought in and brainwashed by the MSM. They can't look at anything that's counter to the narrative. The beautiful thing about Q, they all want to paint us as right-wing crazy nuts and all of that good stuff. The MSM lies to you. Basically, Q people just want to see corrupt people eventually locked up for their misdeeds. Nobody's ever gone to jail because the fix was in. Well, now we got President Trump in there. He wasn't bought off. He's able to take down these people because he's not compromised and or complicit like the Bidens, like the Clintons, like the Bushes, and many administrations.
Before he was a presidential candidate,
I've been saying for years, keep the oil, don't let them have the oil.
Before he was a reality TV star, Donald Trump was a New York tabloid fixture. All through the 1980s, Trump was busy building something new. It wasn't a skyscraper.
Billionaire developer Donald Trump has put his name on a New York City hotel, shopping center, and apartment buildings, as well as a casino in Atlantic City. And now he's going to put his name on a big piece of Eastern Airlines.
Trump was creating a public persona, one that could be both funny and mean, arrogant and somehow in touch with the common man.
I sort of love and hate him at the same time. I mean, I think he has a monumental ego. He comes off as being very yeah, he's arrogant.
I like it. Yeah, got it made. Got everything.
He often did this by picking fights.
I think Donald Trump is an artful liar. I think he's a greedy, vicious, and arrogant man.
I don't know, is that supposed to be a compliment? I'm not sure.
He waged a years-long battle with the New York City Mayor Ed Koch.
I hope that New York City has a different war at some point, because I think that Koch is a total disaster. He's doing very bad for the city.
He helped launch a competitor to the NFL called the U.S. Football League, and then launched a lawsuit against the NFL when the USFL failed.
The jury in the case delivered its verdict. It ruled the NFL did indeed monopolize pro football, but it awarded damages of just $1.
And in one of his biggest fights of the 1980s, he went up against media mogul Merv Griffin in a fight over a casino in Atlantic City.
People realize now that Merv made a bad deal. It's unfortunate that he's taken a fall, but he has taken a fall. Nothing much I can do about it.
Donald loves that perception. I won, he was still, a year later, standing in New York going, I won. He wants to make sure everybody in America knows he won.
But the Donald Trump we know today is more than just a boastful brawler. That's because there's one more tactic that Trump apparently learned in the 80s and uses to great effect on the campaign trail today. Keep people guessing about any long-term plans.
Mr. Trump, what's left in your life? You're 33 years old, you're worth all this money. You say you didn't say you want to be worth $1 billion.
No, I really don't. I just want to keep busy and keep active.
Could $1 billion buy the White House? What do you think?
Well, I know a lot of the politicians. I like a lot of the politicians. They're friends of mine.
Trump carefully cultivated speculation about his future. In 1987, he ran a full-page ad in major newspapers that read like a political manifesto.
A blow-up of the ad is now on display at Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue.
The ad was irresistible to the New York press, and the move kept Trump's name in the news.
Trump has said, quite seriously, that he's a good enough bargainer to negotiate a nuclear disarmament treaty with the Russians.
This is not a wealthy country. People think America, wealth is not. The Japanese are saying that. What a wealthy country. And you're saying it, you're laughing. Countries losing $200 billion a year. But we ought to go in, the next time they fire so much as a bullet at one of our ships, we ought to go in and take over the world.
With each of these instances, Trump refined his playbook. His attacks.
Steve, you're going to have to start pushing these people now a little bit, because it's getting a little ridiculous as far as I'm concerned.
His boasts.
We'll probably sell an extra 10,000 season tickets, and that's a lot of tickets.
And his shifting positions.
Do you have the genes to be a successful politician?
Well, you never really know. I think I'm pretty outspoken, and that's not probably a good thing in terms of a politician, but it's a good thing if you ever got elected, you can really do a job.
Now, even back in the 80s, many found Trump's over-the-top personality distasteful.
What may be most discouraging of all is that Palm Beach will accept almost anything that's got enough money, but somehow it will not accept Donald Trump.
But by playing the role of an unpredictable bully with the Midas touch, Trump showed he couldn't easily be ignored.
I believe that perhaps I'm portrayed differently than I actually am. I believe I'm portrayed in a rougher sense than the actual product. And I hope that's true, because I hope the actual product is a lot more mellow than the portrayal.
And that may be his biggest asset of all. When people attack Trump, they reinforce the version of Trump that Trump wants people to see. And inevitably, that keeps Trump's name in the news.
That doesn't matter because I'm not running for office.
Hey NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
We love you very much and we thank you for everything have you done. And we now will be your voice. We will speak up and we will fight for justice.
Good evening from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kristen Welker of NBC News, and I welcome you to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. It is conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Commission's Health Security Advisor. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except right now as we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
And, you know, they say when you sacrifice once in life, that's how you get the next one. Let's go on back to the early post number 8 is one of my favorites. Because it mentions the Haiti stuff. And I had already been researching it since October 16th.
And I do want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer, and the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones will remain on, but on behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say. And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID. including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected today. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital, I had it, and I got better, and I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure, but I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune, whether it's 4 months or a lifetime. Nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators. We're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. I hear nothing else I say tonight. Do this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially. Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day, 1,000 deaths a day, and there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the new medical journals said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. And just more of these masks, President's own advisors are told, will save 100,000 lives. And when a circumstance where the President thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe, and give them the wherewithal and financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you in your comments. You talked about taking a therapeutic, I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine would be coming within weeks. Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well, and we have numerous others. And then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you because this is new information. You have said a vaccine is coming soon within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics, and this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go. As soon as we have the vaccine, and we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists pool see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this would be end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no
We
plan.
have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we did at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe. But China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now. But it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic, it was horrible, we didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way, every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that he had 44 people that were in China trying to get the Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing, he did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about, well, this is all, don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on, there's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
Over soon, so we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know, he's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families, every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9% of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though.
I'll respond to that.
30 seconds, please. I have a question.
Number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their out of habit where their wife or husband was is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he's never said, he said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? We're dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that it came here, it's China's fault. And you know what? It's not yours fault that it came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter, don't worry, warm weather, don't worry, maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that. A lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
Perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And I know for months. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing, he's xenophobic. I think he called me racist even, and because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't,
I didn't say either of those things. You certainly did. I talked about his xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handle
He thought I shouldn't have closed the border. That's obvious.
Is that, do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the high rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap in his golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts that are passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
Well, you have ruled out more shutdowns.
No, I'm not shutting down late, but there are, look, they need standard. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in the community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasium, do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump,
I think we have to respond if I'm right.
Please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats are all, they're shut down so tight, and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country. You know, I've said it often, the cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down, he'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, it's simply not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open, but they need resources to open. You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that you're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
I will say this, if you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting out plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at what New York is doing in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states, they're all in the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people years ago. And I'd say start. Take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. We're going very well with Anthony, but he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking them. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words, this is no problem, this is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that, think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us, Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we find out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing, and the memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm
what
going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're
the
going
Wall
to
Street
move
one, I
on.
don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it. You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money as president and as somebody that knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that, like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Average contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I'm not going to get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China's been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's spoken a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, his buddy Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question, why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part, as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife, and you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and you know, someday you're going to have to explain why did you get $3.5. I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that, and through John Ratcliffe, who was fantastic, he said, one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose because there has been nobody tougher than Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, you know, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them. But you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family. But what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond in 30 seconds. And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I've not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns. 22 years, go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants, underwrote it. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it will show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that. Nobody told you that. Excuse me. And it wasn't written. Whenever they write this, they keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions about all of this. I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you have a deadline for when you're going to release them?
I get treated worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance to talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to reduce your taxes. Nobody knows, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
So, President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you on this.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken, I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe, and they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had it. The only guy that made money from China is this guy. The only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Let me ask my question to you.
Just one thing. His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world, I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. $183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the Vice President respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a question to you.
No basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was open to do. It was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China, like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He was the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money.
President Trump, thank you. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. Of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property, you have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, and when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said, we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, the B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up over 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules, you play by them or you're going to pay the price for not playing by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we did, and upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, and let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, I have to respond to that.
Very quickly,
$1.5 billion from China to manage after 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two. Number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy though, what specifically are you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going to make them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money.
The taxpayer is, it's called China. China paid $28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel, because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this market. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding that we can't get new tires for the ball because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making. The middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Cleveland. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to talk about North Korea. I do want to turn to 10 seconds, Mr. President. 10 seconds.
Let's go off this China thing, and then he looks. The family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about North Korea. Okay.
That's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's look around, sitting around the table. Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House. Right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem is North Korea. He indicated we would be at war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, then, man, because he's not going to do that. And I was like, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people inside. Millions of people would be dead right now.
President Trump, that's 30 seconds. Vice President Biden to you, North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat?
Because I make it clear, and trying to make it clear to China, they have to be part of the deal. Because here's the thing, I made it clear as a spokesperson of the administration, I went to China, and they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, a thug, and he talks about how we're better off, and they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than we ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be a nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
They tried to meet with him. They tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, gotta give him a chance to respond to that before we move on.
And it's okay. You know what? North Korea, we're in a war with a good relationship. You know, people don't listen. Having a good relationship with leaders of other countries is a good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get to.
It's not so one-dimensional, but we do have a main culprit. Hitler before he in fact invaded Europe.
And together we have the power.
Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you. We're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on and talk about American families. President Trump, okay, we need to move on.
He left me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We got some action.
In fact, if you remember the first 2 or 3 months, it was a very dangerous period of my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit. They left us a mess, and Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country
had. Let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and healthcare is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
First of all, we've done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down, everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done.
I believe there's something else here. Anybody is.
If you don't win, we'll have to run it and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better. Will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we're going to win the House, okay? We'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care. People that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families. Under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine, he won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care, and we're going to do even better.
State Representative Biden, yes, this is for you, healthcare. So my question is, what is your plan? If the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, you have 2 minutes on the
A public option is an option that says that if you in fact do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically enroll, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why I didn't, not one single person in private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation where we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None. Zero. You can't do it in
they said it happened over a big
He's been talking about this for a long time. There is no, he's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact that I still have 51 minutes, I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and economic spillover. 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government?
I say it's ridiculous. It's like saying that, you know, the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think healthcare is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable healthcare. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions as well as a whole range of other people who in fact are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick? Because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone under. We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
he was there for 47 years.
Oh, they're peaceful.
He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 and 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it.
There used to be a day where people just squared up
just like he went in with fracking.
Got the one that they had to be for, but now they just pull up and spray the whole block.
Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it, and he goes to Pennsylvania and he says, "Oh, we're going to have fracking." And you never ask that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way,
but somebody should ask the question. He goes for a year. There will be
we have a number of topics.
No, but that's a big question.
We're going to get to the police down there.
The same thing with socialized.
I have to respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable
Make sure we
health
watch them the whole time.
Period. And the Biden care proposal will in fact provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. And what we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And you're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on health care. Not a thing.
When he says public option, he's talking about socialized medicine and health care. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroyed, and destroying your Social Security. And this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay, let's hear Vice President Biden respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden, he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation where they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security, Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get rid of, he tried to hurt Social Security years ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on. I'm going to move on. Mr. President, I have to move on to the next question.
They said the stock market will boom if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's move on to the next question very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claremont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more. $700 billion more, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on.
401ks are through the roof.
We're going to move
Stock are through the roof.
All right.
And he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew it.
We're going to move on to the
left.
next question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me move on to my next question, gentlemen. As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work, and as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President.
The Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden, because let me ask Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Oh, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets, and states that have to balance their budgets, so then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with
The bill that was passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high-crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these states. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
if I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is America, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out, too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration, but I want to get
we
your
have to help our small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very
we have to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses. How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said very recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Is that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but what I really like, in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
President Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through.
But how will you reunite these kids with their families, Mr. President?
They built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages, President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you have a plan to reunite the kids?
Yes, we're working on it we're trying very hard, but a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough, we're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over, their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
They did it. We changed the policy.
Your response to that?
They did it. We changed.
Did not.
They built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what we're talking about. Let's talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped. Their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I will
about
say
it.
this, they went
10
down, we
seconds and
brought
then I need to
reporters,
ask you.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of
I've
them
gotten
haven't been
such good-
reunited
But
with
just
their
ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because it made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea that they are being sent home by this guy, and they want to do that, is they're going to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River, and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
Kristen, he had 8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released, and guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise: why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
President Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay, President Trump, let's give Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know
section.
the law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.
But we don't have to worry about it because they
section.
terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it.
Let's move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our next section, which is race in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. What I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street, making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, just yes sir, no sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. But guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it. But we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back. Because President Obama would never give them long-term funding. And I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them. And they like me and I like them. But I saved it. Colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that, Vice Chair?
My response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is the guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up.
If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician. Right. So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody. President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue
from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please,
because look, there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this where you're going? This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys, last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up.
No, you made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
you said you're Abraham Lincoln.
No, where did that? No. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm saying,
I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put
oh God,
tens of thousands of black men, mostly in jail.
All right, let me ask Vice President Biden
if you look at what's happening with the voting right now,
let me ask Vice President
that
Biden
you treated them very, very badly. Just take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to the drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a lot of it done. We released 38,000. We got 38,000 prisoners left from.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running, to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I just asked one question. Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress. That's the answer.
Well, you got to talk them into it, Joe. Sometimes you got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section.
Like I did with criminal justice reform. I had to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen, we're running out of time, so we got to get on to climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change and climate warming, global warming, is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit the emissions, will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, here
today came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC plus 3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate, and they're all hopping through hoops for AOC plus 3. Look, their real plan cost $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it could be good politically. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers. $100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, $45, $50 an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump, please respond, and then I have to follow.
We are energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive. kills all the birds, it's very intermittent, it's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China, and the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a
Solar.
scientist say that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So it's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want and what about fracking?
All right, let me allow Vice President Biden to respond.
I never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is, he's flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money in doing it. But it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod.
He was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against
fracking on federal land. I said no fracking or oil on federal land.
Let me ask this final question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater the percentage gain than it was in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. Okay. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again. And everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claremont, Delaware. And all the more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turning the windshield over, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying, and it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final question.
Would he close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's
transition.
A big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a
because
big statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
that's
you
a
can't
big
do
statement.
that. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. You won't give federal subsidies to the gas, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to the oil industry?
We actually do
All right.
to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then
Ohio.
I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One final question to vote. No, we're finished with this. We have to move on to our final question.
I'm going to rejoin Paris Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All right. This is about leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make a country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, etc. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because there are enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country. Decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont University for hosting us tonight. And most importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd. Don't forget to vote. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
And there you have it, the second presidential debate, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. The fact checkers will be up late tonight, I think it's fair to say, and we'll have more to talk about that in a moment. But what we saw there, a much different presentation than we saw in the last debate. We saw two Donald Trumps there. The flashes near the end of the one we heard in the last debate, a little more combative, talking over, but certainly a lot more restrained than we saw him in the first debate.
Yeah, and we had a real debate. There was substance discussed, there were policies discussed, there was back and forth. I think it'll be a relief to a lot of people that there wasn't that interrupting that we saw in the first debate. It didn't devolve into deeply personal areas, and the American people got a real look tonight at what the choice is before them.
And the question is, did each of these men do what they needed to do under the circumstances, 12 days out in the election, the polls being what they are? Let's go to Chuck Todd right now, who's been watching along with us. Chuck, right at the top, what stood out?
Well, first of all, the muted mics thing turned out to be a good idea. I'll be honest, I was a bit skeptical, but I think that was actually a very helpful tool. I do want to give a shout out to our colleague, Kristen Walker. I think just had a tremendous command of this debate, and I think it actually helped facilitate at the end of the day, I do think viewers got a measure of both of these men. I think this debate distilled who they are. I think in many ways, if you've been following this campaign closely, you probably did not learn a lot. But compared to what we saw in that first debate, I think there is almost a sigh of relief that we at least got an idea of what each might do. The thing that struck me the most, though, about this debate was how much the president sort of took his defensiveness and tried to act like a challenger candidate. He didn't really talk about what he was going to do in a second term. He would not talk much about sort of defending. He'd defend some of the attacks on himself, but he kept trying. In some ways, he was trying to make Joe Biden the incumbent. He's been trying to sort of recreate his October 2016 mojo, which I get. But he's the incumbent president. And I think ultimately tonight, the question I have is, as he was trying to deflect answers on healthcare, deflect answers on COVID, deflect answers on the economy, are folks that are watching that going, well, wait a minute, who's been the president the last 4 years, you or that other guy? And that's the question I have. I do think, though, that Donald Trump probably stopped the bleeding tonight, and that was an important moment if you're a Republican.
Was the president able to pump air into this October surprise that he's been working on, the emails, the Hunter Biden stuff? He kept bringing it up.
I felt as if that when he would talk about certain things, particularly that issue and a couple other times, and I want to say this very shorthand, I felt like he was almost speaking the language of Fox Primetime. And if you watch a lot of Fox Primetime, you understood what he was saying. But if you don't, you have no idea. I'll be honest with you. I had some people go, what is that? I didn't hear that. I don't understand this. And I simply said, well, you don't speak that language. And I do think that was part of the president's problem, is that he did speak to folks who already understand what he's saying. Did he actually talk to anybody who's vacillating in the middle tonight? And did he make a pitch to bring them back to him? I did not hear that kind of pitch. And I do think when he went after Biden personally and he went after that Hunter Biden stuff, I just, if you didn't follow it closely, you probably don't quite understand what the hit is.
Let me bring in Andrea Mitchell, NBC senior Washington correspondent. Andrea, if suburban women are the voters to get, if they're the ones who are going to decide this election, there was a much crisper presentation from both candidates actually tonight. Again, and I'll echo Chuck Todd. We're cheering for the home team, I think, because of the able moderation of Kristen Welker, our colleague. But that aside, do you think that those swing voters will take away anything tonight that could possibly help them change their minds?
I do. I think, first of all, they saw a real debate, and kudos to Kristen and the way it was structured, the tremendous amount of work that went into that and the command that she asserted, but that she actually got them to debate with each other. So you heard an incredible contrast in policies, but frankly, the fact checkers are having a field day because by my count, on race, on the environment, on minimum wage, on immigration and separating children, just the facts are very much more so with Joe Biden than Donald Trump. And I think that the callous aspects of separation of children, these are the issues on COVID that I think really do resonate with those suburban women. That is why the president has been losing the support from those women. I was in Pennsylvania yesterday and talking to people, and it's very clear that that is the key problem that he is having, losing the support of suburban women. And the president, of course, is hoping that he can gain them back or have enough voters in the rural areas, other voters, other white men, and bring them back into the fold. But right now, I think in this debate,
and also served in the Obama administration as a senior advisor to the president. He's a Biden supporter and an NBC News analyst as well. David, what stood out tonight, and does the Biden campaign have something new to worry about tonight?
I don't think they have anything to worry about. I mean, I agree with Chuck. Maybe there's no more bleeding on the Trump side, but Trump's at a place where it's not just good enough to stop the bleeding. He's got to get people who are saying, you know what, I was leaning Biden, or I truly undecided, and now I'm voting for Trump. And my suspicion is they didn't see anything there that said, you know what, sign me up for another 4 years. I thought the most important part of the debate was the beginning of the debate, which is the issue on most people's mind, COVID. Donald Trump seemed most passionate in that debate, Lester, when he was attacking Joe Biden's family. Not when he was talking about COVID, not when he was talking about